Hey guys, I'm just looking on one little thing that's getting in my nervous system, and I should actually check if my sound volumes are okay and recording options, overlays, sound. Sound levels. There, echo cancellation, automatically mute microphone, Skype during audio video playback, use echo cancellation, screen sharing. This is just stupid. Okay, anyways, it doesn't matter. I guess I'll silence this and then we'll go back. That's so stupid. I really get frustrated with technology. You guys ever just get like insanely frustrated with technology? I don't know why that happens to me. Like I just go from like a really chill person, but when a program is not listening to me or like doing something repetitively annoying, like my anger just like goes, it just skyrockets. I start sweating and like palpitating, like that emperor from Star Wars before it got ruined. Emperor palpitate, and I just don't know how to control my anger. So I just need to like step back. It's okay. We're just gonna like let that little pip thing happen. I have a video about evergreen. I do a lot of interviews. Oh, this one I want to say. I interviewed Stephen Hicks today. I'm involved with the ThinkSpot thing, which is not Jordan Peterson website. And it's in beta right now, and it's really janky right now, and that's a whole other bunch of different frustrations. But because of that, I got hooked up with Stephen Hicks, who wrote a book about explaining postmodernism. He actually does a lot of lectures about postmodernism. He's got like this very interesting way of breaking down the postmodern condition, or not the postmodern condition, but how postmodernism got developed post Enlightenment. And I got to spend like an hour and a half with the guy. It was really awesome. I can't wait to share it with you guys. It's going to be on ThinkSpot for a few days, and then I'm going to extract it from there, put it on the podcast, and get it out to the YouTube things. But because I know not everybody can see the ThinkSpot thing right now because it's an open beta, but like I was so nervous about that. I woke up at 3 a.m. this morning, like, oh, I'm going to be talking to Stephen Hicks. I mean, he's not like a superhero to me, but like he's pretty heroic to me. And I'm like, this is a big performance for me because if I can ask the right questions, if I can be in the right space, then I can actually add to his oeuvre, right? And who doesn't want to add to Stephen Hicks' oeuvre, you know? I mean, I know I want to, so I was like kind of not really nervous, but like, Christmas morning, can't sleep kind of thing. And I woke up and like my cat was crawling all over me. So I like have been up since 3 a.m. and it's like 5 a.m. or 5 p.m. where I am now. But I got to talk to him and he was really great guy. And for some reason, my brain worked and I got to ask him some questions that it looks like I got him to think or to rethink or to reposition the conversation as he casts it. And that's like the best thing to do as an interviewer is to stumble into a relationship with your interviewee where they're discovering territory, right? They're not just working on a script, but they are like bringing to bear all of their knowledge and all of their experience because you've connected with them in a way that's one, novel, and two, zeroes in or is in conversation with their conversation. So that was really good. I can't wait to share that. What do we think of ThinkSpot? Ben Quinn says, what do we think of ThinkSpot? I'm going to go over to full screen thing while we're going to wait. I'm going to play this evergreen video and we're going to break it down. But it's probably going to be all janky because of this freaking recording software. It doesn't just have like one button. Turn off this annoying sound that nobody asked me to make. I feel like I'm busting out the mic. If I'm too loud, let me guys know. Anyway, so I am working on that one thing called the complete evergreen story. I have about an hour of footage that I'm condensing down. I went through and I transcribed this entire hour of footage, and I'm breaking it down into chunks. I'm distilling it down, but like I get to the part where I need to do that thing where I explain what's going on, and I can't get myself to do it in the correct way. So that's kind of on pause right now, and I'm getting a lot of comments like where people get to the episode 15 of the complete evergreen story and they're like, oh, that was really great, and then they critique me on it. They're like, you're leaving out all this footage and stuff, and like it's not obvious that it's not over, but it's obviously unfinished, right? So it is in a state of unfinishedness. I think I spent like six to eight like straight weeks on that thing, like 40 to 60 hours a week on all those episodes. And I think that it's okay for me to have a refractionary period with regards to that material and stuff, and just waiting to find my footing, waiting to find, like, what is the stuff that I want to bring out? What is the kind of person that I'm supposed to be while I'm doing that, you know, on camera? What kind of voice do I want to do and stuff like that? It's just like, I need that bug. I need that really intense little bug to get me going back into it, because it's such an intensive amount of work. And to be honest, it's long tail material, right? The stuff that I did last week about Evergreen, that I got the footage of their recent like equity symposium thing. It was like super cringy and like really blatantly culty, and that video did really well. I think we're at about 50,000 viewers, or 40 to 50,000 viewers right now. So that stuff does really well. Just when I jump around in the content, that stuff actually like helps me pay the bills. The complete evergreen story is not something that pays the bills. I mean, that's the stuff that pays the bills insofar as the subscribers, the people who donate to me, they are the ones who are supporting that work. And so it takes a... I really appreciate that. I just needed to say that. But it doesn't make a big splash. It's long tail material. It's stuff that people will be finding 2 years from now, 4 months from now. One guy, one marginally really big YouTuber, No Bully Man or something like that, he found it. He stumbled upon it because Aaron Lawrence from the Evergreen Saga showed up at City Hall. I don't know if you guys saw that. I did like a little 5-minute snippet, but then Andy No finds it, and it makes a big dust up on Twitter. And then for whatever reason, lucky me, that video ports into my complete evergreen story. So that kind of stuff, it's going to be around for a while. So I think it's okay to take time on it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should just push it out. But what do we think of ThinkSpot? I don't know if it's out of open beta yet. I don't know if it's out of open beta yet. I don't know what you guys are talking about. We're at 60i. So let's get into this evergreen video that I found. The Olympian...
I'd like to think that...
Hold on. The Olympian on November 30th published an article that is kind of skewed positive about the evergreen situation, but they get into the numbers. And I reached out to the woman who wrote it, and I asked her about certain numbers that she got and how she got those numbers, and she just sent me back to the website. So there's something a little bit fishy about how they do the numbers, but we're not going to get into that now. We are rather going to get into just the video itself, because it's really fascinating. So this is done by the Olympian, which is the local newspaper, right, for the city of Olympian. I think it's not a promotional video. I think that the Olympian kind of leans positive towards evergreen. They have been fairly fair about evergreen coverage. At the same time, they're rather inexact with it, because they've relied on the Cooper Point Journal, which is Evergreen's newspaper, for certain parts of their telling of the Evergreen saga. So they're not completely accurate, but they're not unfair. They're not totally skewed for or against it. But this does seem a little bit like a promotional video. And insofar as it is, it's really telling what they're trying to promote about Evergreen. So let's get into this.
That's something. I'll have friends who go to state colleges. I'll be speaking to people that go to state colleges, and maybe they've toured Evergreen, maybe they had someone from Evergreen show up at their high school, but the attitude is still like, Evergreen's kind of weird, and like, what is Evergreen like? What is it like to be there? And I think it's interesting to them to hear that it's a lot unlike a state college, but it's a lot more like a college than they may seem to think.
Evergreen is known to be a very activist college and a very political college of fighting for what's right and fighting what you want to fight for.
I went to a high school that gets compared to Evergreen all the time, so if you're a successful student there, everyone just tells you to go here, and all that did was make me not want to go here.
When I came here, you could literally count on 2 hands how many people of color run on campus. There were no student of color programs. There was no support for me here. Thank you so much for doing some artwork. I left because I came from an all-black community, and so it was just weird. I had attended other colleges before I came back, community colleges, and the teaching And the academics and the curriculum is not as good as Evergreen's. And just the philosophy of teaching wasn't as good as Evergreen's, and that's what brought me back. It was way different because by then they'd had the People of Color Center. There's just so many more people of color on campus.
Sorry, it's so false that there's more people on campus. Like, if you look at the video, there's like 2 other people in that room, and she's like, oh, there's so many more people of color in campus, and Evergreen's been pretty consistently about 30%, probably 20 to 30% people of color for quite a while. But I guess when there was more students there, it was harder for people of color to connect with people of color, or maybe she just chose different programs where people of color weren't in them. It's just really interesting to me that that is something that they're forwarding, that's somehow central to the identity of the college now, is this racial thing. Like, even the Olympian, which I don't think this is a promotional video, is centering the fact that Evergreen is trying to build into its DNA this racialized aspect of college. And what does that do? Are there not better colleges for people of color or for people who wear unicorn things to go to? Like, is that really a strong selling point for Evergreen? That this is a place where you go to meet other people of your race, or this is the place to go for you to meet people of your own special gender unicornness? I don't know. It seems like there's a lot of actual competition for them in those areas, and that's not the way to sell it. But maybe they're not being sold. Let's go back to it.
You know, it's beautiful. That kept me here because I found my place. I love the school. I really love the school.
I came up to visit Washington and Evergreen, and I just fell in love with it automatically.
If you've never heard of the college, the first thing you're going to hear about Evergreen is probably going to be something on the news. I came here just the very, very end of the Brett Weinstein episode. I don't think it's going to be a big issue for students that are enrolling now, if they even know about it. I think if a high schooler really wants to go to Evergreen, and that's really what they have their heart set on, I'd like to think that that's something they'd be allowed to do with their parents. But then again, I definitely know people who go to state colleges whose parents wanted them to have nothing to do with Evergreen.
Whenever I come on this campus, I feel like I'm at home. I feel like I wish that I could live here and have a tree house in one of the trees in the woods and never leave.
I'm glad that I finally found a place that I feel at home at and where I can really be my full authentic self.
I just always feel so much love when I come to this campus from so many people, and the environment and just the philosophy and what Evergreen stands for is just amazing.
Okay, so there's some funny things in there. Sorry about the picture-in-picture. I wasn't there. I don't want to be in the way of the unicorn guy, but I love that he's like, I can be myself here. And the other woman's like, I can find a home here. And the sad fact of the matter is that, so I don't know when they filmed this. We could probably do some calculations. I know that the cafeteria was open, and that has certain hours for it, but it could have been that they filmed on a weekend, but that campus is dead. And it's just dead. I mean, I don't know if necessarily if the college is dying, but the campus is dead. I wish I could turn off that godforsaken clip thing. Sorry, hold on. Let's get up the comments and we'll read through you guys' reactions. I'm gonna mute this stupid freaking program over here. So it's interesting. I don't know Russian, but this Russian chicken person says, anybody who enrolls now and hasn't investigated the deflated value of their potential diploma is either deluded or naive. Either way, they get what they pay for. Now, this is a really interesting thing. There is rumors, and I don't know how to trust them or what to make of them. There are certain amounts of rumors that a lawyer is being sought for a class action suit by the students who are now finding it difficult to get jobs or to get, to even get seen if they show their Evergreen diploma. And it looks like there's pattern of students just ending up hiding their Evergreen diploma, at least when they try to find a job. I think that there's certain markets that the Evergreen diploma still has value. It would probably be with regards to getting a master's in science. The science programs are still gangbusters, still absolutely gangbusters. Actually, I'm in contact with a number of professors whose classes are over full with students, and they're really difficult classes, and these professors are like busting their asses to actually like provide a very valuable education for the students. And what does the administration do? The administration ignores these particular professors. They don't advertise these classes. Okay, I guess I can talk about this one class. So in the next episode of the Complete Evergreen Story, I'm going through this hour live stream. It's like some freaking experimental piece of, Lars Van Trier movie where it's just like this, like it was like a filmmaker had like these 5 tenets, like we're going to make a film, there's going to be no cuts, it's going to be live, it's all going to be improv, and this is basically what we're going to do. We're going to have student protesters berate the administration, and the administration completely cave to the student protesters. And that's basically just an hour block of footage. And in this hour block of footage, there's a professor named John Baumock. John Baumock is a business professor, and he does other things, but usually he knows a lot of law, and he teaches business. John Baumock is a fairly tall white man, and he's agreeing with the protesters. He's saying that we do need cultural competency training, and the training that we've had so far is really dogmatic lectures. All we're getting is a bunch of dogma that's not actually helping us to learn to do better. And he's siding with the students. And then there's this other short woman, and she's either Hispanic or Native American, and she starts yelling at John Baumock about how she doesn't want to listen to him grandstanding, and how he's a white male, and he came to her office as a minority of color and asked her to help him because she's his union representative, and she yells at him, and then he gets kicked out of the room. And there's this really interesting little, actually there's a lot of things going on in that little transaction. The one thing that I want to bring up is that John Baumock, this quarter, his class about business is 3 times over enrolled. He's got 64 students. He's busting his ass. Grace Huerta, I've done the calculations and I can find all this stuff on the internet. It's just all right on the internet. She only has 4 students. Grace Huerta, the woman who's berating John, the one is teaching about diversity and dissent in media, her class is completely empty. I don't know I don't know the exact numbers, but her class is under enrolled by 21 students, and it's basically you're asked to have about 25 students per your class. So you definitely see, if you go and you look at Evergreen, and you have to do a lot of math and it's a lot of guesswork and stuff, so I can't really like say this officially, but the classes that are actually serving students, the science classes, the business classes, the classes that provide a skill for you in the world, a really definite set of skills, those are over enrolled. The teachers are busting their ass. The classes that are about diversity and dissent and media, everything that I'm doing, actually, they're under enrolled. People don't want to really associate with the whole social justice thing. Now, maybe there's students that want to do that, but it doesn't seem that the college is actually serving those students, because there are other options that if you want to get a social justice degree, just go to UW. They have all the courses there. They have all your ethnic studies, all your gender studies. You have all the studies there, and it's not stained by the Evergreen brand, because at UW they have a bunch of sciences, and they have a bunch of actual courses that lift up and maintain the value of that degree. Evergreen doesn't have that, or insofar as it actually does. I should reel it back. Evergreen actually does have value that it can give to students. The administration is covering that over, and they're trying to make it the social justice university. Now, I shouldn't talk too much more about that, because a lot of this stuff I might like tread into confidences and stuff, but it's just so freaking sad. It's so insane. It's so insane. So what we're watching now is like this long, slow devolution. From the last rumor that I heard, this is complete rumor, I do not have the data for this. The last rumor I had is that the administration is finally admitting to the faculty that they have 2 years of solvency left. They have 2 years of solvency left. That doesn't mean that they're going to shut their doors. It's a state college. They are not going to shut their doors. What that basically means is that they have 2 more years to change the boat themselves before somebody comes in and changes it for them. So the state will basically absorb it and probably just make it a UW South, or probably just completely reconfigure the college. And there's a lot of really interesting things. Because it's a state college, the state's not going to close it. At least this is what I hear. And because it's a state college, a lot of the faculty are state employees. So the state's not going to fire them. Like, there's some pretty strong labor laws stuff going on in Washington state. So it'll be really interesting to see how it switches over, or if it switches over, and in what way, in what capacity it's going to be redesigned. And I do have hope that Evergreen's core model of education might survive if George S. Bridges, I almost said George F. Bridges, or George F.ing Bridges, but like, you know, he's just a guy, like, I don't really hate him. He's completely screwed over everything that he's touched with regards to Evergreen, and I think that I am justified of holding that against them. But if George doesn't screw things up too much, there might be something to salvage. But if he guts those 16 credit programs, and if you're just tuning into my entire series, because, you know, I don't know. We're almost at 40,000 subscribers, and I don't know how many of you are even tuned in for this Evergreen baloney, but Evergreen has these 16 credit programs where you take one course for an entire quarter or an entire year, and that course is taught by a variety of different professors. So you get all those different core aspects. You get writing, you get math, you get science, you get this and you get that, and they all come together around a common theme. And you look at this common topic, or this one topic, from a variety of levels. That's completely or almost totally unique to Evergreen. Like, that is the Evergreen brand. That is what they should be selling. They're not selling that, they're selling social justice for whatever reason. And when I post my Hicks, my interview with Stephen Hicks, which I'm so happy I got to talk to him, he kind of goes into how certain sorts of academics take over academics. And a lot of our conversation was about, like, how do you sustain a truly secular environment within the academy where there's a tension of disagreement. And that tension of disagreement allows the student to learn which one they side with by going through and learning all these different positions, right? Marxist, capitalist, you know, communist, socialist, whatever, you know, I don't know all the different things, but like all these different, let's say, philosophy things. But for some reason, over and over and over again in the academy, it's really difficult to hold that tension, that secular tension, that common ground where different beliefs can intersect. And insofar as Evergreen's lost that, and Evergreen doesn't have top-tier thinkers or scientists, or insofar as they do have top-tier thinkers and scientists, the administration is not pushing them because the administration itself has been captured by one way of thinking about the world, which is it's the worst possible way to think about the world. I would have rather them get overtaken by like Mormons or like just like some Christian version of Christianity. That would have been so much better than what they got taken over by. But what are you going to do? They got taken over by what they got taken over by. I'm sorry if I blew out your speakers with that little bit of passionate discourse for you guys. So yeah, I'm working on the Evergreen saga. I got a lot of back in the interview circuit. It was really interesting, the little foray into German politics that I had last week. It was very, actually, it's very fruitful. Somebody on Twitter, like, that has 0 followers, and like, you know, like this nothing account, like, came up to me and said, you were good when you were talking about Evergreen, but once you talk about other things, like, you're just out of your wheelhouse and I'm unfollowing you. So I lost at least one person by talking about German politics. And I was just talking about free speech. It was really interesting, though, to be able to stick my tongue into a place where it doesn't belong. And if insofar as you do with that in good faith, I think, you know, if you do make a mistake, you're going to get a lot of flack. I didn't get a lot of flack because I kind of muted the thing. I made like a statement about Angela Merkel. that went viral. So people started judging it beyond what I meant it to be. And it's really interesting. But anyways, that led me to talk with Logan McCree, and I learned a lot. I learned a lot about Germany, like just in that 1 week. That was just great. And I wonder how to do that. I'm a one-man production company. I don't have time to research every guest. I don't have time to research every topic. I just kind of fly by the seat of my pants, see what comes up. Like, I'm playing a really emergent game. And I think that maybe that's part of the reason why that might be the selling point of what I do. But like, there's some consequences if you step on the wrong bomb. Like this is the weird. If you say, like, let's just take a really stupid. This is totally stupid. But it's just really obvious. If you say the N-word and you're nobody cares, right? But if you say the N-word and 10 years go by and you become somebody, then they care. Or if you say the N-word in the correct context and you're still nobody, then everybody cares. So you can mess up all you want until people pay attention. And so we're always constantly playing, everybody here, all you guys typing your things, especially the people who have attached your names or your identities to this. We're playing this really weird game of operation where we're trying to get to the issue. And if you just mess up just a little bit, you're going to get an electric shock, or you're going to send an electric shock through the entire system. It's kind of live and livid and interesting. But what I was trying to say is that it would be better if I had somebody that I was working with that could help me, like, investigate things, or we could follow our collective nose into these different topics, because I would like to explore outside of the evergreen thing. And I try to model with the transgender thing, like, yeah, I can explore, I can work outside of this one little box that I'm doing, but I don't need to be too impatient for that. But, you know, I like to branch out. It was just interesting to hear that person's like, you shouldn't be talking about things you don't know about. I'm like, did you not listen to the last year of me talking to people that I had no idea what they were going through? Like all these gender dysphoric people, all these trans people, all these people who are detrans, all these psychologists, all these professors, all these, researchers, like I didn't know anything about that. I still don't know anything about it, but I know better questions. By the time I got to Blair White, by the time I was graced with an interview with Blair White, I knew enough to ask her questions that she had not heard before, or to frame the conversation in such a way that she can go deeper than she normally does, right? And so I provided value for her by giving her a place to go that she hadn't necessarily been before, or maybe that she was, but she could actually expose more of herself, or wrestle with things that she hasn't wrestled with. So it's interesting. You want to wrestle with things that Peterson puts it right. You have to be allowed to play the fool in order to actually do anything real. You have to allow yourself to meet the pavement with your face. You just have to allow that as a possibility. That's the only way to do anything that's not canned, that's not Rubenized, or whatever. I'm not going to poke fun at Dave Rubin. Dave Rubin came out as not an atheist anymore, and people are making a stink about that. I don't have anything to say about Rubin. It's just interesting. I have more of an opinion about people's reaction to Dave Rubin than I have an opinion about Dave Rubin himself. It's really interesting how he triggers people. Baron von Tekokat has a counterpoint to my game of operation metaphor. Maybe he's talking to something else, but I'm appropriating his counterpoint to my point. You don't learn from electrocution. You become a zombie from brain damage. There's a certain amount of voltage. There's a certain amount of voltage that you can avoid becoming a zombie if you just tread lightly. Oh, look at that. Oh, let's go through the super chat people. Chirponk. Super chat, $4.99. Thank you very much. The trans stuff you've done is very interesting. Thank you very much. It's very unfortunate that you had to put a at symbol in the trans. Maybe you did that on accident. Maybe you just wanted to avoid the censors, but that should not be that shouldn't be on this channel. That should not be something that gets any of us banned. But we don't know what YouTube does. I have to say, there's a comment on one of my free speech videos, or a comment thread, where people rip into me for being very censorious, and they say that I've banned all these people. I have muted certain people who have made some pretty awful accusations, or just like they've crossed the line for me and I didn't want to listen to them anyways. But YouTube, that aside, YouTube just swallows content all the time. Like, I will get comments from 3 months ago in my spam filter. So I don't know exactly the rules going on in this dark box. Anyways, I don't want to get into the whole free speech thing and like how much of a censorious person I am. I'm not a censorious person. Certain things trigger me though. Tim Riley. Hey, Tim Riley. Super chat $10. Thank you very much. Thanks for the great work. Did you mention that current freshman enrollment is 260? Yeah, I did. Freshman enrollment is 260 from what I've heard. That was something that was said aloud in a meeting that somebody reported to me. I don't have any data for that. The Olympian, which is the local paper, said that there's 750 new students on campus, which doesn't mean freshman enrollment. Freshman enrollment is a very important number because that 260 is going to be the 260 that shuffles all the way through, if they even last that long, to the end of that 4-year education. So those 750 new students come in at various levels, and probably more than likely includes the Tacoma campus and includes the master's programs. So take that as you will. Oh, wait, somebody used my name. Oh, look at this. ABC, ABC. Wait, ABC, ABC. Benjamin, as a previous alumni, 2007. You're doing a stellar job documenting this ongoing debacle. Thankfully, I'm self-employed because at this point, my degree is probably useless in many hiring departments. ABC, ABC, here's to you, man. I had a great time there. There was certain things that they could have just fixed instead of destroying the whole thing. Like, they could have just fixed some things. But whatever. They decided to do, George Bridges and his administration and the people who hired him and the faculty that are on his side decided to go the route that they've decided to go. There's certain things I can't talk about, so I'm not going to talk about them. There was another super chat up here. So I just want to let you guys know, I'm just rapping here. If you guys have any questions about something that I might know something about, go ahead and use 3 question marks in front of them, and maybe I'll get to them. If you guys want to talk about anything in particular, Tia Smith. She is a designer of web presences in New Zealand, Australia, or Australian New Zealand. Tia Smith, Australian $5, so Australian $5. Hippo character with stars growing in his eyes, pumping his arms in the air with the word hype pulsating above him. I have no idea what you're talking about. Sometimes you come across as a very horny woman, Tia Smith, and that's a beautiful, wonderful thing. But I know you're married, and I don't mean that offensively at all. But there's a little spark inside of you, I just want to say, it comes off a little salacious. That's all I'm trying to say. I don't want to get in trouble with anybody who gets in trouble with saying that kind of thing. So I appreciate your pluck. Evergreen does have 2 campuses. Gracie asks, Evergreen has 2 campuses. This is the interesting thing. Evergreen boosts their enrollment. They have a campus an hour north in Tacoma, which is their urban campus, and I mean that in the loaded way of urban campus. They have an urban campus that specifically is tailored to urban students. Not to say that it's not a good degree, but it's particularly tailored to a certain urban student. I'm not making a value judgment. I'm just trying to state the facts while saying that they're loaded facts. But they do have it's a small campus. And actually it's mostly evening, weekend. It's for adults. It's for older students. That's what Evergreen should do. Like, if they weren't idiots, they would just like promote it to people like me. Like, hey, look, you spent your life trying to be an artist. Why don't you take 4 years off? Because you're broke as F, and come here for really cheap and just spend your time doing 4 years of retirement, focus on your craft, and figure out what to do with your life. That's what they should do. But they're mired in a certain ideology, and it doesn't look like they're going to revert from that, but maybe they will. Okay, McGruff covers for me. Australian women are forward. Verintad Takutakat. Hate speech, quote unquote, has no definition that is consistently applied. It is merely a pretext to silence those who disagree with you. And that's why I want to bring up, that was what I found so interesting about Logan's conception. And I know that it's just this one man's conception. I don't know him that well. We spoke for 2 hours. He seemed like a really genuine guy. I got a lot out of chatting with him. But he, in my two videos ago or 3 videos ago, the interview about Germany, he talks about how after World War II, Germany, we don't even have to say for a good reason. They were mandated as a part of the treaty with the ruling powers that came over and took over their government. They were mandated that there would be no more Nazi speech. Now, that was the beginning of speech laws. And I don't know a lot about it. So I probably shouldn't talk about it. But it's just interesting to think about. How do you regulate speech? And once you start to regulate speech, what are you actually regulating? You're regulating the ability for people to make mistakes. You're regulating the ability for people to play around with language. And that's why I was kind of defensive with my second video about that, is that the only people who can actually even conceive of regulating speech are the people who don't really have a very high intelligence with regards to language. The people who would control language think it's something that you can control. Like, those are the exact opposite people that you want in power. So, like, not even like whether or not you can define hate speech. Those who can define hate speech are not people that you want defining what you can say. Like, just on a psychological level. And I don't have any data to support that. Just, my lived experience. It's like the people who take a legalistic approach to what you can and can't say. They don't have a sense of humor. They are low on a sarcasm reading radar department on that. They sargasm all the time. Sargasm. This is Benjamin Boyce's word. Sargasm. When you take seriously something that's not meant in a literal way. It's the opposite of irony. It's just the inability to grok or to parse irony. And then you have a sargasm. Then you make a big stink about something that was meant tongue in cheek. Anyways. I just don't think there's space for comedy. I don't think there's a space for poetry. I don't think there's a space for relationships, like deep exploratory relationships, whether in an intimate capacity or a semi-intimate capacity, like the person that I am right now to you. We're having an intimate dialogue, and you can tell that by the tone of my voice. I'm making things up on the spot. If I have to go through and filter all of my content before I say it, like there's pre-filters, right? Like, I was a teenager. I said things that you shouldn't say. I still say things you shouldn't say. I say things that get me in trouble. I'm fine with the whole consequences of free speech. I'm fine with that. But those consequences, when they're applied by people who think that they can make a law out of them, they don't make sense anymore. Or it's not that they don't make sense anymore, that they completely limit the ability for new forms of sense to be made. Now, then you have the whole question about what about actual Nazis, or what about actual bigots? What about actual hatred-filled people? What about those people? What about them is going to be solved by them not being able to speak anymore? I mean, like, even okay, the most generous, most liberal position I can think of for thinking of people who are filled with hate is that they have some form of trauma that they are projecting outward. They are suffering outward. That is what they're doing. The only way for them to arrive at a sort of harmony with their trauma would be to interact with people on a verbal plane, on a communicative plane, which is much better than a physical plane for dealing with trauma, right? And going through a process of basically open air psychotherapy, open air LARPing psychotherapy. Like, you want that to happen. You want it to get out there. Now, there's certain people who are evil. I understand that. There are certain people who want to instill that and evoke that in others. I understand that. But at the same time, if they're out in the open, we can see them and we can counter them. and we can maintain our ability to counter them. Our ability to counter people who we disagree with is not going to get any better by separating ourselves from them, right? Our ability to change other people's minds will never develop, will in fact atrophy, if we are not in contact with people whose minds we would like to change. And when we shut them up, when we censor them, we no longer have access to that. I mean, this is really obvious stuff. I feel like I'm repeating myself, but there's a little bit of sake involved, so maybe I'm thrusting forward in a proprietary, entertaining way. This guy with the possibly salacious or offensive Russian lettered name, Coptic alphabeted name, is keep on popping up. I'm interested to read what he says. I haven't read this before. Let's see how much trouble this is. I don't even know how to pronounce this. But I'm going to say, Mr. Chicken Russian Dude, when you stop people from speaking, you drive them to other forms of expression. Exactly. I knew you had something to say. I could feel it. Better to bring spotlight to their words than drive them underground to a bomb-making factory. Yeah, then drive them underground to a, not then, but then, I'm going to correct you. That's a really important one. I don't want to be a stickler with grammar, but it's better to bring spotlight to the words and then drive them underground to a bomb-making factory. That my sentence exactly. Not that I want hate speech propagating. Not that I want pornography in the hands of children. I understand that. I understand, and that's why I bring up, there's a line here. There's a line here somewhere. I get it. You get it. We get it. Or else you guys would be hating me by now. I feel like we're at about... I feel like we're about at an hour. So we probably should wrap up before I start getting off into the second sake land. Was there any questions that you guys had? If there's any questions that you guys had, why don't you guys write down a question, or even if you don't have a question, or if you guys want me to rap on something for a little bit before I go. I have to go and do a lot of cleaning. I have a partner, and this month is her very, very busy month, and that means that I have to do better than I normally do with the house kind of thing. So I have to get and cook us a shepherd's pie in our brand new pressure cooker. We have an Instapot, and I don't know. I'm gonna have to look up how to make a shepherd's pie, but I'm gonna boil the potatoes with some butter, or I'm gonna pressure cook the potatoes, and I'm gonna mash them, and I'm gonna pressure cook the beef, which is frozen, and then I'm gonna combine them into some sort of pie-like entity, and then we're gonna pressure cook the whole thing. I'm probably going to do it wrong, so I need to do a little bit of research in here. But I have all the ingredients kind of for a shepherd's pie. We just had one pressure pot thing last night. It was our first time doing it, and it was corned beef and cabbage, which is a standard fare around here. And the vegetables were amazing. The way that the carrots and the turnips and the potatoes tasted, it had all that oil was injected into them, but all that, the dirt flavor, like that really good tuber flavor. It doesn't taste like dirt, but it's got that earthen flavor. That stuff hadn't been leached out yet. So it was like a fresh, power infused, fat infused freshness. Yes. I'm going to title this one Fat Infused Freshness. Maybe not. Maybe I'll make it, actually, I'm probably going to put this in the live stream archive. Oh, wait, here we go. R. Nicole, 3 question marks. Have you thought about extending your work on Evergreen by exploring how the same ideologies are entering into Washington state government agencies? A lot of Evergreen graduates work for the state. I make a lot of overtures for that. That's a big question. It's something that we have to really be aware of. There's something about social justice activism. It's founded on postmodern ideas, which makes it ultimately nihilistic, but it's got this weird kind of safety net of bureaucracy built into it. So you don't go full nihilism. You still go for that cushy bureaucratic job, and you just extract resources from a bigger entity and destroy productivity in the shadows, like under the guise of hope and diversity and inclusion and equity and all these different words that all mean the same thing, which is the opposite of what you would think they mean. But there's this weird adaptive aspect to this strand of social justice that Evergreen has developed, or that has been developed accidentally at Evergreen, that plugs it directly into Washington State. So that is a very good question. That is a very good question. Oh, okay. Levi Kushenreuter. Nice. Talk about the book. I feel like I missed about 6 levels of it. Talk about the book? My book? God, I get like nobody cares. This book. So I wrote a book. Actually, this is about 120 pages from a 900-page novel that I wrote at Evergreen. This is just like the essence of like an argument about what it is to be human, what it is actually, specifically what it is, what is the masculine, what is the animus, what is the masculine property, the masculine archetype of mankind. What is pride? What is will? This is Lucifer. This is the self-created one. This is the God. This is the king of the gods. And I don't think I can get into that right now, but I built a lot of layers into it as highlighting this hyper masculine figure's relationship with the hyper feminine. I don't think this is proper to talk about in this live stream. I have to go in this whole like dreamlike way of viewing the world, and furthermore, not only do I have to enter into that, but I have to make sure that other people can follow me into that. And if I just dive from like stupid ass political talking about free speech and Evergreen into like the depths of archetypal grappling with reality, or like with the dream world, this is not reality. This is dream for sure. I'm going to lose a lot of people. I'm going to lose a lot of myself, and then I'm going to feel very exposed and embarrassed afterwards. Like there's weird little like triggers that like go off. So I can't really talk about that right now, but maybe I'll talk more about that. I have to steer clear of that. Nobody really cares about that stuff, or very few people care about that stuff. And those people who care about it, I totally care about, but I have to like somehow gatekeep that form of myself from like the bigger like, oh, look we're at 40,000 subscriber Benjamin Boyce. So I still don't know how to navigate between those two things. And it's probably untenable. As a small channel, you can be like multifaceted. As a bigger channel, I don't know. Like with the whole thing with like that tweet about Angela Merkel, like I was being myself, but that self, once it's exploded into like thousands and thousands, it got like 100,000 views. 100,000 people saw that little stupid snarky remark. Like that's 100,000 different interpretations of that. And yeah, they're mostly like there's a spectrum, but like everybody is bringing a whole lot of different things into that one little statement. It's scary, it's fascinating, and it doesn't come without consequences. And you can't really go into deep sorts of places with a lot of people unless you do it over time, and you come to gain and lose subscribers and strain people to that one set of people who want to explore things in the particular way that you want to explore things. And also, you always just have to cast your net wide. It's interesting. I don't think I'm making that much sense, but it doesn't matter because it's a live stream. All you have to do is talk and look at that little bubble of vacuumed glass up there in front of you. Melinda Barnes says, stay multifaceted. I'm not going to not stay multifaceted. I'm just saying that you have to be careful. If you want to maintain your multifacetedness and not get a lot of pushback from it, you just have to be like kind of slow and methodical and like section things off and allow people to move from point A to point B with you, where point A is a radical point A and point B is a radical point B. So the thing with, I guess, one thing that makes me truly an Evergreen student is that I take a year to go all the way down one question. I take a whole year to go down one train of thought, right? So after years stack up and I go back to another train of thought, I have to allow that the audience needs a little bit of guardrails to go as deep as I want to go in these different directions. So I'm not going to give up my full multifacetedness. It's just there's an art form that I'm learning as I do it of being able to be deep and multifaceted at the same time, where you have a broad net that goes deep at the same time, like deep and wide. It's just, you have to be careful with that. Okay, I gotta pay attention to Jose's diet art. So Jose Diart wants me to go back and read him, I guess? Jose Diart. I don't see what else you're saying. Okay, here we go. Jose Diart says, "Hey Ben, how do you feel about forming a team of journalists?" The guy who founded the Post Millennial asked me to do that. I would like to be a media arm of a collective of some sort. I would like to work with somebody, say like Tim Pool. I thought he was going to start something, but I haven't heard anything about it. But like somebody who does other forms of media, and I'm able to focus on just doing interviews, and then I pop off for like a 10-minute video every now and then. But like I think like if I wanted to be a part of a collective, I would like to really specialize on interviews and like take more time to find people or to develop an entire network of discussion. So that's weird. So maybe that's going to happen. Maybe that won't. But like, it would have to be very particular people and circumstances for me to form a team or be a part of a team of journalists. I get really desirous of being independent. I really just want to do my own thing and operate based on inspiration, which is horrible, which explains a lot of why I'm 43 and where I am in life. You know, like I have very tight writing restrictions on what I do. Like I have to feel that spark before I do anything. I'm growing out of that. Like I have a lot of discipline. I do a lot of output to make up for that, but like that makes it very difficult for me to work with other people in a sustained sense. I can get really tight with somebody for a short period of time, do some really good work with them. But I met one guy this year who I feel really comfortable with this guy. I feel really comfortable with him, and we're feeling out a big project together. And that's the first time I felt like I could actually collaborate with somebody. Actually, in like my 43 years, like I haven't felt like I could collaborate with anybody, and I felt that way with this guy. But that's a huge like 10-year long project. So I don't know. We're at that point of the night where I've said all that I need to say, and now I'm just biographizing in your general direction. Knights Armament, Benjamin A. Boyce. Tim Pool did start something. He started his own news agency called Subverse. I haven't really heard anything about it, and I've been focusing on my own thing. But I think I had a feeling like my stuff, like long form journalism, might fit into what he's kind of doing. I was just using him as a referent point for an emergent collective of journalists. But I haven't really investigated or looked into it. But it's nice to hear that he's going along with that. Smoke Shop Diaries says, "Can I say I just really like your sweaters? Can I just say I really like your avatar photo? Your what's that photo called? I really like your photo. That's really creative and nice. I like that. What can I say? I'm a sweater gal. I'm a person who likes iconography. You've done some really good iconography with your face. Smoke Shop Diaries, girl, lady, friend. First time I've interacted with you too. Welcome aboard. My address. Okay, this is weird. Okay, I feel like we're treading into territory where I should turn off the camera. Viola asks, "Are you a dragon?" I actually am. My dad's a dragon too. I was born in 1976. I was born 3 days after the bicentennial of my great country of the United States of America. I waited 3 days after. It's July 7th, 1976. I'm 43 and a half. I am a dragon. Whatever that means. I'm imaginary. And I get fiery over certain things. I don't even know what that means. So Ray, I always like when you join in. GenX curse. Don't tell me what to do. Isolationist. I know, right? Don't tell me what I can't do. Don't tell me what I can do. Yeah, we are pretty isolationist. And I think that's really important because the current trend right now is collectivism. And I think that it's weird to talk about us this way, but I do think that Gen X has a certain amount of wisdom to partake, or to, not partake, the opposite of partake, impart. Jesus Christ. Gen X has a particular amount of wisdom to impart to the current mashup of collectivism going on. And the problem is that we have to somehow figure out how to make a loose collection of individuals who are striving towards the same thing. And the IDW, this is interesting. This might be like a not cringeworthy take on the IDW. The IDW was an attempt for Gen X to form a collective under Gen X rules, and it was disastrous. One, it had a shitty name that was really cool and really shitty at the same time. Total Gen X. I mean, like that. The intellectual dark web is the 80s button-up shirt of branding. Like, that thing is so ostentatious and horrendous and like, oh, and really catchy at the same time. Okay, and then you had a bunch of people who were like really opinionated, but like opinionated in different directions, but they always wanted to be friends, so they really couldn't go after each other too much. So there was like a stalemate. It was perfect Gen X activity. It's like a complete stalemate. It's like, okay, well, we're not apathetic because we care, but if we care too much, we're screwed, because then everybody's going to peg us and we can't be pegged. We cannot live in a box. So we can't commit, but we have to commit because we're doing this thing, we're doing it together. There we go. That's my IDW take. Like the Gen X tribe, like totally fucked from the get-go. Soraya, that was excellent insight. Smoke Shop Diary says, I would say that Gen X is the way it is because a lot of us were latchkey kids and basically raised ourselves after school. Isolationist and sort of socially needy as well. That is interesting. I mean, we are the generation that preceded the internet generation. We didn't have social media, but we had our own kind of delayed echo chambers with regards to media. We had our Disney afternoons, and we had our different medias, and we had our online print, or not our online print, but we had our magazines, and we had our media that ties us together. And if you look at Quentin Tarantino's very Gen X, and I think I would like to rescue his form of storytelling from the postmodern label, because postmodern is now ruined. But like that in Pulp Fiction, like when Pulp Fiction came out, like there's that one scene right at the beginning where Samuel L. Jackson and John Travolta are just traversing LA and they're just having a conversation about hamburgers. Like, that's very Gen X, where we just reference things. We have that where our art form is this dialogue, or we're referencing things. So that's how we latch up to one another. We didn't latch up to each other directly via social media. We latched up with each other indirectly via this already kind of decaying sort of pop culture that our parents had already like explored in the first great boom, that boomer generation that explored. Like, we are the first generation that grew up with TV. We didn't have that. We were the second generation to grow up with TV. So we had to like figure out something interesting about that. So we have this unoriginality, this original unoriginality packed in, where we're kind of snarky. Back to that intellectual dark web. Like, it's completely derivative with like this quirky little twist. Right, like that's kind of our aesthetic. We understand how derivative we are, because we were trying to make connections from isolated bubbles via this via this opposite of isolated social media, or like mass media, I guess it's like an ocean filled with garbage, and we're like creatures that like kind of like reference each other by like sending our echolocations off the garbage rather than directly. And so we have, I don't know, I'm totally like mixing my metaphors right now. There's something here, I feel it, but I don't know how to wrap it up in a brilliant way. I'm just saying that there's something going on with what we can impart to the collective structure, to the social media structure. There's something about social media that I think that we can call. We are also those who are teaching the crazy ass people at Evergreen. My generation are the ones who are the direct teachers of the students of Evergreen. So there is a collectivist, activist core among us, like who are even more losery than us. You know, like they've attached themselves to this postmodern thing as their mode of isolationist echolocation discourse across like some sort of medium. And then when it mixes with that direct, there's something here. Like there's something about like the way that the formative connections that the current generation, like they're formative, like their neurological formative social connections are imprinted by means of social media and by means of those particular social media apps that are no longer the same. They're changing, but that sets up a whole other dynamic of how they interact with each other, how they perceive of themselves as entities in the world, and how they perceive the world and the world of problems, and how they navigate all those different things. And Gen X, we're like at this, we have this different perspective that I'm trying to explore out loud, foolishly. Face meet concrete. I'm looking for my cursor to press this button over here. AD writes, postmodern philosophy was originally posited as a way to free people from oppressive determinants of different social norms by questioning every social norm. So how did current SJW phenomenon evolve? I am not an expert in this. I highly recommend my interview with James Lindsay. Brilliant interview, James Lindsay. I can't remember what it's called, but if you just do Boyce Lindsay, you'll come up with Lindsay Shepherd, and then you'll come up with this guy with a Zelda t-shirt and this beard, and I'm kind of like cocked off to the side laughing. He goes through that whole development, and also my interview with Stephen Hicks today gets into that, but I would really look at Stephen Hicks. I know that there are arguments against him, and I really enjoy him because he's simplified things into like these big Lego chunks that you can then manipulate and build upon. He distilled everything into blocks that you can build upon, so it's not necessarily finished. I'm not ascribing to his entire construction of the story of postmodernism, but from what I gather, postmodernism was a way of freeing ourselves from a normativity, but you can only have so much freedom before you enter into a state of radical either nothingness or deterioration or dismantling or deconstruction of the thing. You cannot be free of the thing you can't be free of the thing without just going into nothingness or going into some sort of radical recreation of the thing. You have to return back to the something. You have to return back into bondage in order to have meaning, in order to have sense, in order to have truth, in order to have reason, in order to have motivation, in order to have value in the world. You have to return back into bondage, right? But it's a wise bondage that knows itself. That's Pascal, but it's a mature bondage that chooses or that wills its own bondage. And that bondage can come in the form of a family. The bondage can come in the form of a YouTube channel or a blank page or a group, a set of friends or a job or career. You have to return back into bondage. You cannot be infinitely free. So the problem with postmodernism is that it takes that radical turn of freedom, and it can only sustain itself so long without a thing. So it goes back to the thing. The social justice activism is postmodernism, which is we're going to free everybody from these systems of oppression by making oppression the most real thing that there is. By making oppression the only thing that we cannot dismantle. privilege and oppression. Those are the sacred values, and then you can see that their entire work is to reduce everything in the world to systems of privilege and oppression. They talk about dismantling. All they're doing is reformulating it in a very simplistic form. They're recreating a bondage, a mental bondage, an emotional bondage, a spiritual bondage, in the name of freedom. And so I hope that answered your question with the postmodern move. So with regards to how I've practiced postmodernism in my art is to say that every story has a certain sort of validity. And the gambit is to create an entire symphony of stories that all have their own truths, but then can coalesce into a greater emergent truth, right? So taking postmodernism as a way of entering into different cultures, entering into different conversations, entering into different genres, entering into different relationships, and trying to make sense out of all of them. And the only way that can possibly happen is if you have a very plastic and deep sense of an individual. The human entity is that which can, once it's given enough strength and sustenance, can enter into any environment and make sense out of it, which goes to say can extract value out of it. And extract value out of it is loaded, but I mean can interact with it in a fruitful way, can enter into any system, see the lay of the land, see that there's something to be got out of it, and to actually better that system so that there's more in the system, or that system's producing more than it was before that human entity interacted with it. I think that's the true promise of humanity that postmodernism was trying to point to by saying you don't have to be locked into one way of viewing the world. You have the ability to go through all these different ways of viewing the world, but it lost a lot in that process, or it was only intended for a very small amount of people to enter into that process. You guys are great. You guys are wonderful. Onideus Mad Hatter says, people need limits. They have to want for them. They have a want for them, and they want without them. You guys are great. I think I should go now. Is there anything else I should wrap up? You guys are having a wonderful chat thing here. Soraya says, Benjamin A. Boyce book, Ideological Possession and Rise of the New Right, The Political Thought of Carl Jung by Laurie M. Johnson. She lectures on political philosophy theory. Soraya, where is she based? What kind of nationality is she? Pong, how do you like Pong? How do you like Pong? Can I tell you guys something? I play this video game on the PlayStation called Death Stranding, and it just suited me. Like, the gameplay suited me. Like, there's parts of the gameplay that I don't like, but it just really suited me, and I really got into it. And just as a gameplay, as that game loop, as just doing this thing where you take packages from one place to another, and you kind of have to manage these packages. And every once in a while, there's these letters you find, and there's these cutscenes. But about halfway through, I got to this point in the game where I just started bawling. I just started bawling and bawling and bawling and bawling. And I was just looking at the map of the game. I don't know how to say this without this, but there's this one lake in the game where there's this heart-shaped lake. And because of the story, because of whatever, I just started bawling. I just crying so hard at this game. And then okay, you're being stupid, stop crying, Stop it. So I go, and like a week later, I finish the game, and I just start bawling again. I'm just like crying, just like walking around, just like crying, just like playing this video game. Dude, this like mist of tears. It was so freaking powerful. It was so freaking powerful. I need to make a movie of that. I should wait a year. I should write a script. I hate writing scripts, but I need to make a movie. I need to make a video about it. The creator of that is dealing with archetypes in such a beautiful way. It's not for everybody. Most people are going to hate it. I understand that. I just wanted to share that piece of media was the most powerful piece of media that I've interacted with in a very long time. And it might have to do with the fact that I lost my cat and I'm mourning for my cat. But at the same time, I should also tell you this, there have been sightings of my cat 3 miles north of me. And so we're getting a bunch of posters printed. Like I have 3 confirmed sightings that line up directly with Bjorno. So there's hope. And I keep on dreaming about him, which is really sad because I miss him a lot. Here comes Bijou. So there's hope. And there's a video game. That thing was a work of art. I have to say that. Anyway, so this is the cat that's stuck around. And her name's Bijou. And she actually has green eyes, but the video is doing. So that was my way of answering, do I like Pong? I don't think I like Pong. Death Stranding. If you played it, you'd understand what I'm saying. I should go, though, guys. Oh, wait. Whoa. There is a wonderful super chat. This really helps. Thank you so much, Iliads. Agamemnon. Super chat, $50. Wonderful. Awesome. Just in time to pay for the cat food. Thanks for continuing to move forward in your work with positivity and due diligence. My wife and I greatly appreciate all the work you do. Thank you. Thank you. Every one of you guys. Thank you all. Thank you all for being about this and watching me on my stumbly journey and going forward and trying to develop something that's important, that's valuable for other people. It's great. I should go, though. I have to do a lot of cleaning. I hope you guys have a good night or day or morning. And is there anything else? Is there anything else to say? Do you guys have one more question before I end this broadcast? I'll pour one more little sake and sniff it. All right, I'll look her up, Soraya. I have to take a photo of this. Okay, so I'm going to try to finish the next episode of the Expose Evergreen. It's got to be I have to come from the right position from it. I have to do it the right way. Like I said, this stuff is archival documents. So I'm waiting for that window. I'm going to work on that. I'm going to try to get you guys the Stephen Hicks interview. So awesome that I got to interview him. I just, like that conversation, I just felt so nourished after that conversation. Some of these interviews take a lot of work. Some of the interviews are me just like being very receptive and just holding the space. Some of them, like I'm active and I'm asking questions, and some of it, like I'm trying to find where the interview is, and it's really just like what is going on here? Like, how is this going to actually turn out? But that Stephen Hicks one is wonderful. I want to put this out there in the universe. I would love at some point to interview Peterson. I really want to interview Jordan Peterson. That's something that I just want out there. That's something that I really want. I want to unlock parts of him. I want to give him new things to talk about. And I think I'm getting prepared to do that. That's something that I really want to do. Ninja Kitty wants more evergreen stuff. So there is more evergreen stuff. We can always do more evergreen stuff. It's really interesting. They're really scrambling. I hope there's hope. What else? And then I'm just going to do interviews and try to get in more trouble and then get out of trouble, like some sort of weird heist movie. Like, oh, look at that guy. He's getting in trouble. Oh, look at that guy. He got out of trouble. It's a picaresque. It's just this infinite wheel of dodging cancellations, evoking and dodging cancellations. I'm gonna go. I will look through all these all these like little chat things. You guys have a good night. God bless, and don't smoke too many cigarettes. But once in a while, it's okay to smoke cigarettes. I'm gonna put that out there just to be salacious. Every once in a while, it's okay to smoke a cigarette. Fight me.